Getting over it is my favorite game. Anytime someone asks what my favorite game is and learns that I enjoy getting over it, they become dumbfounded, often followed with an intense stare as if I had said I enjoy kicking puppies. They feel this way because to them, getting over it is a rage game that provokes its audience at every fall and setback, while simultaneously assaulting them with an unorthodox control scheme. The gameplay footage you're watching is of my 100th game. Usually when I play Getting Over It, I compete with myself to get the fastest time possible. But for this particular run, I decided to take things slow and enjoy the world of Getting Over It. And also to pad out the runtime of the video. Thinking back when I first played this game 2 years after its release, I never found myself angry at the game. Even when I lost all my progress, I would end up laughing at the outcome. Maybe I felt this way because I had seen a full playthrough of the game and understood what I was getting into. Or another possibility is I'm clinically insane locked away in a psychiatry ward somewhere in Latin America. But it's one thing to justify not hating a game. It's a completely different thing to claim it's your favorite. It's time to give this masterpiece the pee-pee. Welcome to the first installment of Philosophy with Phi. When you load into Getting Over It, you're greeted with this absolute Shad Diogenes, biceps bigger than the dislike ratio on YouTube's 2018 Rewind.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Once you start maneuvering with the mouse, you immediately realize that the liquid pouring out of the pot you've been shoved into is actually just concentrated DHC to numb the anal pounding you're about to experience. Once you've tackled the first obstacle, which is the controls, you make your way over the tree, past the cliff, up the chimney and building, followed by furniture, orange, church, mound, anvil, snowman, bucket, ice cliff, tower, and finally asteroids. And then you're done. You've beaten the game. But wait, let's go back. All the way back. Portal 2 was released on April 18, 2011, and what started as a puzzle game became a well-known classic throughout the video game world. I remember the first time booting up my family's crappy old computer to watch my favorite YouTuber struggle over this seemingly silly game. But unbeknownst to me, there was actually a vicious dark side to the comedy of Portal 2. I'll never forget the day I discovered the tale of Doug Ratman, which completely changed the tone of Portal for me. It was no longer about portal slinging and companion cubes. It became a story about isolation, vices, and murder. And if you don't know the tale of Doug Ratman, I'd highly encourage you to search out the lore behind Portal, and maybe you'll have a new appreciation for Portal 2 as I do. The gist of the story, however, is that Doug Ratman survived the mass killings of his fellow scientists thanks to his companion cube that had spoken to him before the massacre happened. Doug has schizophrenia, often hallucinating about what's going on around him, and thanks to that, he's continued to survive in the walls of Aperture Science. This is apparent in several well-used alcoves the player can find littered throughout the different levels in Portal 2. In one of these dens, the player can hear an audio clip of Doug's ramblings and discover more about the Portal universe. But Phi, what does any of this have to do with Getting Over It? Ever since I had that vivid experience with Portal 2, anytime I play a game I try to figure out what its themes are, why I enjoy it, and the purpose of its creation. I really try to dissect it. After I had beaten and uninstalled Getting Over It, some part of me felt unsatisfied and wanted to keep playing. The sense of discomfort was like the FBI spying on me through my built-in camera monitor while I was eating a tub of sour cream. I decided to reinstall the game and give it another go, but this time I would focus on listening and observing what went on instead of focusing on the actual challenge. I noticed something interesting about the obstacles the player had to conquer. The obstacles appeared in what I thought was a logical sequence, alluding to a meaning. And then it suddenly hit me. One way of interpreting the journey Getting Over It undertakes is to view the challenging terrain through the lens of life. Think about it. When you're born, you're unfamiliar with how your body moves and lack the knowledge and strength to interact with your environment. Once you become able to interact with your environment, aka a kid, you do what any kid does and climb a tree. After coming down, you advance to your teenage years and pick up canoeing along with your first car. And crippling addiction to coffee that you acquired when you reached junior year in high school because you discovered you no longer had the motivation to exist in this world without altering your biochemistry. Passing the daily chores of trash, you become an adult, obtaining your first apartment where things are finally semi-stable. You climb up the foothills of society to furnish your apartment with furniture because your mom came over one day and said that you're single because your couch is just a blanket on top of 2 folding chairs. Now you're in your midlife. You reflect on your past youth or possibly have a child. After this, with many failed tries at success, you are now conscious of your own mortality, so you pursue religion at the church. You eventually move into a house that you bought, spend time with your children in the snow, finally reaching the anvil representing your finely honed craft you've dedicated so many years of your life to. You're old now, represented by the narration change to a much softer, worn-out tone.
Starting over is harder than starting up.
And this year is will, his intent, the embodied resolve in his uphill ascent.
You still search for meaning, so you struggle in your pursuit. Thus you decide to retire and travel the world. You go to the docks and the icy cliffs, but your life's running out now, and no amount of shopping for pharmaceuticals or new technology can keep you alive. You're moments away from the end, and once you leave the earth you die, but your legacy will remain throughout the stars, and the feeling that remains upon the credits, shared by both Diogenes and the player, is relief. But getting over it doesn't just have the journey of life as its theme, it also has deep philosophical lessons. For example, this snake.
Snake. I'm a snake. I'm a snake.
This snake leads Diogenes astray exactly how a serpent in the Bible tempted Eve to consume a forbidden fruit damning mankind. The sign above his head acting as a warning to avoid people who would mistreat you down a wrong, metaphorical and literal path. The bucket section, right before the snake, teaches that flailing mindlessly at an objective will not serve your goal. Instead, careful precision is the only option, especially for newer players. And even before that, the hat that sits atop the snow hill seems perfectly placed to get in your way, just like how the best intentions can pave the road to hell. Even in the final difficult section, the tower, ends with a leap of faith into the unknown. Have you ever stopped to think about why we are playing as Diogenes? Why not Socrates, father of philosophy, or Zeno, founder of Stoicism? I believe the reason we play as Diogenes is because a mountain will never be climbed without the determination to take a single step. Diogenes spoke with his actions, his philosophy became his life, and so too does the game force your beliefs and challenges in fairness into action and resolve. Your proverbial mettle is tested at every fall and stagnation of progress with goading narration at every slip. My last thought on getting over it involves the narrator, Bennett Foddy. Why does the game chastise us when we slip? Why is it so infuriating? Well, why do we decide to take his words as discouragement instead of encouragement? After all, he is telling us not to give up, and he's sympathizing with us. Part of the reason this narration feels condescending can be attributed to when the voice lines occur, typically after a fall has taken place.
You just lost a lot of progress. That's a deep frustration, a real punch in the gut.
It's natural to get angry over lost progress, and it's also normal human behavior to redirect the burst of emotion out on something else, especially if that something already seems antagonistic. And while to most people it's clear this dialogue is intended to provoke, I've often found myself at the end of a dirty glance because I tried encouraging someone at the wrong time. This is one of the few games that have taught me a life lesson. Sometimes you should just shut up. Maybe Bennett Foddy didn't plan for his game to have themes of life's journey, memorable lessons, or be tone deaf. But games are an art form that can be interpreted differently across different people. What do you think? Is there something I missed? Be sure to leave a comment discussing what you liked and disliked about the game. And if you like my content and want to see more, subscribe and share the video. When I get partnered with YouTube, I'll measure the volume of my mouth. Peace.